welcome to That's Based Happy Hump Day. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days. Brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and our good buddies over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show. We'll save you 10% off your order at the checkout with two types of wine, both red and white, along with the alcohol-free and sugar-free Liquid Freedom energy drink. Give yourself that extra kick without the downsides of coffee and brands that we can't name in an ad, but you know who I'm talking about. Drink bloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D. Like the title of the show, will save you 10% off your order at the checkout. Support a longtime sponsor of ours here and just great people. I know the owner. I've interviewed him on a previous media venture I used to do, and decent people. Go support them, help them out. Well, it's the Heartland Hot Takes segment. We do this for sure once a month, but we might sprinkle it in more depending on what's going on, where we cover local news. If you want to hear about all the big stuff going on in the country and, as the world burns and whatnot, we'll be talking plenty about this Pentagon leak with the signal crap on Saturday and Harry Sisson and Klarna and espionage and gay Venezuelans. I'm just looking at my little note. Jasmine Crockett. I'm just looking at my little notes here. We'll be talking about all that stuff Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, so you can tune in there. But you might as well just hang out and listen to this, because this could be some interesting stuff, too. So here locally in Omaha, we have got a mayoral race going on. And the Douglas County Republican Party and the Douglas County Libertarian Party have now both endorsed Mike McDonald for mayor. Our guy, Mike McDonald, for mayor over Jean Stothert. So that's a good development. That's a real positive development. I wish it would have come about a week sooner before early voting started, but I suppose better late than never. That could very well push us past. I know there were a lot of Republicans who were maybe a little hesitant, given Mike's history as a Democrat and, the whole blue dot issue, but I think that this might push us over the edge here, so I'm really happy about that. And, we'll talk some more about it. But so here's the first thing I wanted to bring up. There is a page on Facebook called Right Cheer, and they go around and they take pictures of local political events and different things like that. Speeches, rallies, protests, whatever the case may be. They'll go around and get pictures of them, kind of like Andy No does, but on a more local level. And here's what they said from a town hall that Grandma Pothole was at last week or earlier this week. It says, yesterday I had the chance to ask Omaha Mayor Jean Stothert about an executive order she issued in 2023 in response to Nebraska's constitutional carry law, LB 77. The order, among other things, restricted carrying firearms in such places as city parks and libraries. It also brought a lawsuit from the Nebraska Firearm Owners Association. Shout out to Patricia Harold, who's been on the show a number of times. And a judicial decision in 2024 to pause the order. Stothert told me that she has since rescinded the order and had a change of heart about the issue. After giving quite a bit of thought to it, I did not think that was a good idea to do that, Stothert said. I am a Second Amendment proponent. I got my concealed carry before most people did. Everybody knows that, and I felt like that by executive... Oh, no, believe me, Gene, we all know you have a gun. Everyone knows you got a gun, Gene. Everyone who knows who you are knows you have a gun. Believe me, loud and clear there, sweetheart. Says that I felt like that by executive order, maybe it wasn't the best move to make. There's so many lies in that quote, not from the page, but from Grandma Pothole, St. Louis Stothert. We're going to break them down here. First off, the claim that she was and I quote, Second Amendment proponent. No, you're not. You're not. You cannot, by definition, if your knee-jerk reaction to a bill that enhances or that strengthens the constitutional right to self-defense in the state, if your knee-jerk reaction to that is, oh my God, we've got to restrict gun ownership, by definition, you are not a Second Amendment proponent. By definition, she's hoping that you're stupid enough to see that and go, oh yeah, she's got an R next to her name. It's the same thing as when they brought dipshit Tim Walz out in his fluorescent orange jacket, and he sat there and took him 20 minutes to load a shotgun in the field while he was going pheasant hunting for a photo op. It's the same thing. She's a FUD. She's not a FUD because she's not from a small town. She's your suburban Saturday Night Special owner. That's her. Your suburban housewife that's got a little 38. That's her. But doesn't think anybody else should be able to defend themselves for whatever reason. Says, everybody knows I did that and I felt like by executive order, maybe it wasn't the best thing. So she claims she rescinded it. However, as of this recording, you can go to the city's website and see the executive orders that are still on the books. It's still there. S-4823, prohibition of firearms on City of Omaha property. It's still there. There's no press release about her rescinding it. There's no news article about her rescinding it. Nothing. It's still on the website. So unless she rescinded it with her mind and didn't tell anybody, it's still there. That is a bald-faced lie. She lied about that. She lied about that because she knew she was talking to a predominantly conservative audience, and the woman is a harpy that will say whatever it takes to stay in power. Aren't you guys a little skeptical of anyone who would want to have executive power for 16 consecutive years? Don't you question the motives and maybe the soul or lack thereof in this case of somebody that wants to be in an executive position of power for 16 years? She lied. There's no way around it. She knew she would. And this is the thing. She refuses to go in to any situation where she's going to be recorded except in very specific circumstances like debates, which she only does one or two of. She refuses to go in and take questions. Now, she'll do a press conference that's recorded. She'll go to a ribbon cutting ceremony. She'll do those types of things. She will not take questions if there's any type of recording going on, because she gets put on the spot like that. And number one, it shows her true side, that she's just a mean, cold-hearted bitch. And number two, she actually has to back up the stuff she says. She can't just lie to your face. She's hoping that 3/4 of the people in that room weren't going to look it up. 3/4 of the people in that room weren't going to look it up. They were going to go, oh, okay, well, she admitted she was wrong. And they wouldn't even bother to go check on the website. They probably wouldn't even know where to go check. We do. That's what we're here for, though. Local watchdog, that kind of thing. And then the other fourth that do bother to look it up and know where to go check or post about it on social media, she'll have plausible deniability because there was no recording. She could say, oh, I never said that. The only time the woman will answer questions about her policy with a camera on is during a debate. And if there's one thing we've learned about establishment candidates and their media connections, I'm not accusing her of anything, I'm just saying what historical precedent says, is that sometimes they get fed the questions in advance. So it's not as big of a deal. Remember, they all have to agree to these debates. So she lied about that. Here's my question, guys. If she would lie to you about something that was so easily verifiable, something that you could find out whether or not she was telling the truth in about 2 minutes on Google, what else is she lying to you about? What else is she lying to you about with the streetcar? What's hidden in these contracts? Well, funny you ask that. Funny you ask that. Do you know who her top donor is? Per the last article that was released. A company called Hawkins Construction. Do you know who just won the bid to demolish several bridges to build the streetcar? Why don't you take a guess? Now, they claim when they hand these contracts out that the city charter requires them to go with, and I quote, the lowest and best offer, end quote. Let's break that sentence down. The lowest, okay, and best offer. If you don't have just alarms going off in your head at the second half of that sentence right there, what is the best offer? Best for who? That's such a subjective term with so much gray area. The amount of wiggle room that leaves would put my Aussie to shame. The best offer. Who says what the... So if it were just, hey, we got to take the lowest offer to be fiscally responsible. Okay, great. The lowest bid. Okay, great. The best? Why would you add that in there? The lowest on its own should be sufficient, but they throw the word best in there for wiggle room. So people could, because it's subjective. It's subjective. It's not a dollar amount. You can say, well, I think this part of the deal is better than what so-and-so's offering. And it could be a total scam that anyone with eyes could see. But since it's subjective, they can decide what's best and what's not. It's such politician speak. It is such a scam. Just leave just enough open for interpretation so that they can do crap like this, like giving contracts to their biggest donors. Who would have thought? But this is the crap that we deal with now. I mean, she seriously is acting like a movie villain with this type of stuff. Just the blatant lies. The blatant lies. So remember, she lied about about reversing an executive order that's still in place as of this recording here at 10 p.m. on Tuesday, March 25th. And she's also telling you that your property taxes aren't going to pay for this streetcar, that it's going to be totally funded by the developers. First off, the idea that it's going to be totally funded by the developers. I mean, if you believe that, how many times have you bought an extended warranty on your car from India? How does that make any sense? Oh, the developers are just going to pay for it. With what money? Oh, just out of the goodness of their hearts. They're just making a $500 million donation to the city. They're not going to get anything out of it. Just for the construction of it, by the way. We're not even talking about the maintenance. We're not talking about what it costs to staff it, the upkeep, the repairs. None of that. We're just talking about the actual development of it. But again, this is politician speak. They tell you, oh, the developers are paying for the construction of it. The developers are the ones paying to build it. We're not going to pay you're not going to pay for it with your tax dollars. But you gotta pay attention because I'm a firm believer that words matter. What they say matters because it's very pointed. They don't make mistakes when they do these things. These are cold, calculated people. When they say the developers are paying for the construction of it, they intentionally leave out words like maintenance and upkeep. Why? Because you and I are going to be the ones paying for that. Guys, these developers that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars are not just going to go into some sunk cost project like this out of the goodness of their hearts. That's not how business works. You don't become worth hundreds of millions of dollars to just sign yourself up to perpetually throw money away on a streetcar or anything. I mean, it's such a lie and a scam. But the way they do it is they leave just enough open for interpretation, like she does by saying things in rooms without cameras. Just enough room for interpretation that they can get away with it. Here's something to interpret for you. And I don't know this to be true. But this is something I've been told from several former employees. And again, I'm not stating this as a fact. This is hearsay, what I have been told. She referred to, supposedly, in private conversation, has referred to the streetcar as, and I quote, the dumbest idea ever, end quote. That's what I've been told. So you have to ask yourself, it's one thing to go along with it because that's like if the city council voted for it and the public was really in favor of it and you thought it was stupid and you're like, you know what, I got elected to represent the people in my city. That's one thing. If you thought it was the dumbest idea ever. But to go out and cheerlead for it and basically put your entire political career next to it, one must ask, what else you got going on here? What else is going on behind the scenes? Why? And again, the only reason I can say that is I've got multiple sources. If it was just one person that told me that, I wouldn't say it. Because if I did, that person was terrified that there was going to be some type of retaliation. What type of retaliation? I don't know. You tell me. How exactly can a former boss retaliate against you when you don't even work for him anymore? That's an open-ended question. I don't know. But that's the culture of fear she's created. How many former bosses are you guys afraid of? Oh, like maybe there's somebody that like you still see or you're related to him or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I got negative opinions, but I'll keep it to myself to avoid the awkward exchange. That's not what's going on here. I'd be willing to bet. How many former bosses do you guys have that you don't see anymore, and you don't even work in that field in several of these cases, where you're like, don't let Jim hear that I was talking shit about him. No, nobody cares. I'll come on here and publicly bash every former boss I've ever had that I haven't signed an NDA for. You know? Like, that's ridiculous. Unless, and I'm just speculating, I haven't been told anything. I can only draw conclusions that are a matter of my opinion based on what I see in my life experience. Unless you've seen some type of retaliation that takes place outside of the workplace. You know, maybe a little extracurricular activity going on there. What? I don't know. Use your imagination. What could somebody with access to a multi-million-dollar budget and every city resource possibly do to harm you? Who knows? Every connection in town. I mean, who knows? What could they do? I don't know. Spitball. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think they'd do. Share the show around. Drop a 5-star rating. If you're not subscribed to us on Rumble and YouTube, do that too. Join the That Space with Caleb Salvatore Facebook group. I'm just getting all the housekeeping shit out of the way. We still got plenty of show left. Calm down. So then she goes on the Emery Songer radio show on 1110 KFAB. Emery Songer is the afternoon drive host who replaced Ian Swanson, who replaced Chris Baker, and that show has just slowly gone downhill since Chris left. I was talking. Listen, I am going to file a criminal complaint with the Nebraska State Patrol against Emery Songer, because that guy's on during rush hour when you've got tens of thousands of people playing his show for background music in their car. Every moment that guy is on the air while people are in their cars driving, he is putting all of us at risk that these people might fall asleep at the wheel, lose control, and kill somebody. And that is not a risk I'm willing to take. I am considering filing a criminal complaint against the Emery Songer show. It is not safe. It is a traffic hazard for that man to be on the air during rush hour. We can't risk it. I'm serious, dude. I was talking to somebody yesterday that was on his show. He wasn't on his show yesterday. On his show months ago. Was like, yeah, dude, I almost fell asleep on the phone. And he seems like a nice enough guy. I'm not going to get into a pissing match with him. I mean, he has a bigger audience than we do, so it is what it is. But it's just like, here's my thing with that. That is a network that belongs to iHeartMedia, somewhere on the East Coast. The local station that belongs to iHeartMedia out on the East Coast. iHeartMedia does not give a rat's ass about any of you. They don't care. I'm not bashing 1110. People like Scott Voorhees, folks like that, they've got a legit connection to the community. And I feel bad for those guys being caught in the middle of this crap, having to sit there and watch the station slowly die because some moron over in New York City thinks he knows what people in Omaha want to hear. I mean, I grew up listening to it. You guys, all of you that listen to this show probably have some type of connection to 1110 one way or another. A lot of you probably found this show because you got tired of 1110. In fact, I know that's the case. I know that's the case. I have people I don't even know come up to me and tell me, thank you for making talk radio in Nebraska interesting again. I was bored driving home from work until I found you. Thank you. Strangers have told me that. So I know that a lot of you have got connections to 1110, and I get it, man. They are willing to, iHeartMedia is willing to destroy that brand at the risk of not offending people that would never listen to the channel in the first place. Because the squeaky wheel makes the most noise, right? That's all there is to it. You bring anyone on who's remotely controversial, you're a bunch of liberals who don't even listen to your channel are going to throw an absolute pissy fit, and you're going to have to fire them. Even though they don't listen to the channel, they don't buy from the sponsors. They can't afford to buy from the sponsors in many cases. But you cave to the people that that hate you and would never consume your products to begin with. So she was on the Emery Songer show, and that's just gets softball question after softball question. I mean, I don't know anything. This is just me speaking my mind here. The guy sounded like a total mouthpiece for that campaign. And I know what your clapback's going to be. You're going to say, oh, but Caleb, you had Barry Rubin on Sunday, and you threw him a bunch of softballs. First off, I pressed Barry Rubin on a couple things, number one. Number two, the difference is I've publicly endorsed Barry Rubin's candidate. I'm not sitting here on the air hiding behind the illusion that I'm impartial. Now, I have checked the McDonald campaign on air, and you can go back and check this, on several policies that I disagree with. I've been critical of them, but I've also publicly endorsed them. So there's a difference between me sitting down and having a conversation with a campaign manager of a candidate who I've already publicly endorsed. There's no conflict of interest there. There's no behind the scenes deals going on. I'm honest with you guys. You know who I support. There's a difference between me sitting down with a candidate, the campaign manager on my independent show of a candidate that I've already publicly endorsed and just having a conversation with him than someone who is at least claiming to be impartial, sitting down with the current mayor, who, by the way, there's a ton of criticisms you could make of her, and throwing her softball after softball after softball. There's a ton of people. There's a massive difference there. But nobody wants to, we see the conflict of interest, right? Now, if he just would have done the interview, I wouldn't even be talking about it. Because you know what? That's not, I get it. There's probably some loser at iHeartMedia 23 hours away sitting in an office cubicle that says you can't ask confrontational questions of your guests. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. Not everyone runs a show like we do, where we have a guy who has a full-blown mental breakdown live on the air and declares himself to be the Messiah. I'm the Messiah. And then for the next 3 weeks, we laugh at him and we bring Monty Scott on to roast him. And he goes on a social media meltdown and we slowly just push him more and more and more over the edge until he just absolutely freaks out. I understand not every show is going to operate to that extreme like we do. I get that. So I would understand if he just would have said, you did the 15-minute interview spot, and bounced. Wouldn't have had a problem with that. Because I understand, like, you got to pay your bills. It's a job. I get it. I get it. Believe me. I get it better than anybody. The problem was, later on in the day, he goes on the air and does an hour-long, just takes calls. I mean, it was like, what's a good metaphor for this? What's a good metaphor for this? I'm trying to think. Do you remember in Lord of the Rings, the first one at the end, when, what's his face? Not Aragorn, the other human with the long hair. The orcs are running down the hill, and he's defending the hobbits, and he's just taking on orc after orc after orc, and he's getting shot with arrows, and he's still fighting, and he buys him enough time to get away. He was doing the political equivalent of the guy at the end of the Lord of the Rings.
Politically.
He's got like 4 arrows in his chest, and he's trying his best to fight the orcs, you know, to defend the hobbits, in this case, the mayor. And he just keeps taking beating after beating after beating. Call after call after call. This asshole sits here and just provides lip service to the streetcar. I mean, truly, it's on. I don't pimp other people's shows on here. Go listen to it. It's on iHeartRadio. If you can manage to understand a word he says, well, because he's got Stothert's member in his mouth for the entire 56 minutes, you'll be as shocked as I was. I mean, it was like after she got done with that interview, they told her they were going to do a segment where they took calls about the streetcar, and she just handed him a piece of paper with talking points. With talking points. I mean, somebody calls in and says, hey, they said exactly what I said. They said, hey, you know, you're talking about this streetcar thing, and, you know, you're saying it's only going to cost X amount to build it, but no one wants to bring up the maintenance. So he filibusters for a couple of minutes and never actually mentions the maintenance. He talks about all the great investments that are going to come for it, and it's going to pay for itself. It's going to pay for itself. It's going to bring it, I love this, $4 billion in anticipated revenue. Anticipated. My God, nobody tell my wife that tactic. Nobody tell her that, because every fucking Saturday, until I finally blow my brains out because I can't bear to hear the question anymore, she's going to go, can we go to Fleming's for dinner tonight? Can we go to Fleming's? I'm really craving, you know, a $65 lobster. Like, Mia, we can't afford, we've been to Fleming's 6 weekends in a row. Do you want Christmas presents or not? Do you want to pay the light bill or not? We can't afford to go to Fleming's again. You got to stop this scam. Oh, but it's going to benefit. It's going to generate 3 times as much in anticipated revenue. She'll use that scam for everything. Don't tell your kids about it. Dad, let me get this new Xbox. You know, is the Series X the new one? I don't know. Where is the PlayStation came out with the new one? Dad, let me get the new PlayStation. I'm not spending $800 on you in April, son. Sorry, it's not going to happen. But Dad, it's going to generate $4,000 in anticipated revenue. How? I don't know. It just is. I mean, this is she and him, her whipping boy, are arguing, they're advocating for this streetcar with the logic of a housewife that doesn't work and just has access to the credit card, or a 12-year-old. I mean, this is childish, the way they defend this streetcar. You know what they won't talk about is all this revenue they're going to generate. You know what number you don't hear about? The number you don't hear is how many of these businesses, because this thing it just keeps getting drug out even longer, how many of these businesses that are on the St. Louis Stothert streetcar warpath, how much money have they lost from having no parking, no actual entrance to their store, the roads totally shut down, all the noise and insanity going on around them? How much revenue have they lost from this process that I'm assuming they were told was going to be over a long time ago, yet it still continues. How much revenue have they lost? Who's going to make that up? Because I'm assuming they're not going to get any tax breaks. In fact, I know they're not going to get any tax breaks because they're claiming that the values of specifically those properties increasing is what's going to help fund the streetcar. So the companies that are already in high rent areas, right? These are expensive places to start a business up. The companies that are already paying a whole bunch of rent are now going to have to, once they finally get access to their store, once their storefront's able to be fully functional with parking and an actual road in front of it, they're now going to have to deal with increased taxes while they try to recover. Those businesses stand no chance. They'll all go under. They just effectively killed every business on that street. Every business in that pathway. Because they're going to have to recover from all the losses they've had from this streetcar and all the losses they've had from their refusal to deal with homelessness, which is a total different story. We'll talk about another time. And then they're going to have to turn around and not just try to make that revenue up, but try to take on the tax burden that comes from this, that they're admitting is going to come from this. They have effectively killed every business on this corridor. Here's the thing. Pay attention. Pay attention because those spots are not going to go unfilled. They will not sit vacant for long when these businesses start to drop like flies. Pay attention to who and what moves in to these businesses. More importantly, look into the owners and their political donation history and see who they've written checks to. See who they're affiliated with. That's going to be the important thing to keep an eye on here. Because, excuse me. Here's another thing I've been told. I've been told several business owners a little bit further west down Dodge, where there's been rumor that they inevitably want to expand the streetcar to, have been told that their fire insurance has abruptly been canceled. And you're probably thinking, well, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Well, here's the thing. If this is true, again, I don't have any, I'm connecting dots here. I see a trend and I say, okay, this looks like where it could be going next. And we go off historical precedent. That's what we do. I'm not saying anyone's behind any deep, dark conspiracy. This is just what I see here. When we have one issue on its own, like fire insurance getting canceled, all right, whatever. But when we have historical precedent, and then we have a number of other things that have gone on recently, that's when we can start to, maybe connect a couple of dots. When I say historical precedent, there were two cities where business owners and homeowners begun having their fire insurance canceled abruptly in the last couple of years. Is anyone, class, do we want to take any guess as to what those two cities were? Maui and Los Angeles. What happened in Maui a couple years ago and what happened just recently in Los Angeles? Oh, that's right. Wildfires. Wildfires that they tried to claim were sparked by natural causes, but, in California, Hawaii, there's every disaster expert in the world is saying this looks man-made, and then you've got people in L.A. actually videotaping folks throwing Molotov cocktails on the highway into forests. So, clearly there's some type of human element in both of these, right? So both cities have massive fires. Both cities have homeowners and business owners who report randomly losing their fire insurance. Both cities have developers come in, developers, odd, and purchase up a bunch of the land to build condos and businesses and you name it on. Both cities were on the list to become smart cities. Now, a smart city can mean a whole bunch of things, but they're the smart. So let's just ask ChatGPT because it'll explain it better than I can here. Let's see, what is a smart city? Let's see what it says. Smart city is an urban area that uses technology, data, and digital infrastructure to improve the efficiency of city services, enhance residents' quality of life, and promote sustainability. So this is basically your 15-minute city. You know, the whole concept of the World Economic Forum where you'll own nothing and you'll like it. Well, as it turns out, our mayor, Jean Stothert, submitted a request for a federal grant we didn't get, but she submitted the request for it to turn Omaha into a smart city. You know, 15-minute city. No sense in having a car because there's nowhere to drive it. No sense in owning property because everything's a rental. We all live on top of each other like rats. You are totally dependent on the government and watched 24/7 by the government, tracked every last move for the rest of your life. So here's my question. Is this streetcar, which they've said they want to expand, is this streetcar really just a booze bus so people can hit the bars between Blackstone and downtown? Or with everything we know, with the submission for a smart city grant, with the historical precedent of business and homeowners losing their fire insurance, with the developer connections that have come in these other cities and rebuilt it in their dystopian mindset? Have we been sold out to foreign globalists that want to come in here and put us in a surveillance city, in a surveillance state? Is there, I'm not claiming anything, I'm asking the question, is there a more menacing hidden meaning to the streetcar? Is that what's going on here? Is it really just this innocent little drunk tank or little drunk bus? Sorry. Because like I said, man, abrupt fire insurance happened in both LA and Maui. Then you have massive man-made fires that ravage the cities right before developers sweep in, buy the land up for pennies on the dollar. Both of those cities were on the short list to become total globalist controlled surveillance cities. Smart cities, whatever you want to call them. We apply for federal funding to become a smart city. One of the conditions in a lot of these smart cities is that you've got to have some type of transportation, like a streetcar. We got people here getting fire insurance canceled for seemingly no reason along the corridor where they want to expand the streetcar to. Are we in a total code red emergency? Is this DEFCON 1 for a false flag that could kill hundreds of people, destroy millions of dollars worth of property, and sell us out to foreign globalists and bankers that want to destroy the American way of life? That's my question here. They did it in Maui. They did it in LA. They need a centralized location. They need a mid-tier city. There have been social media posts going around about a terror. They were already laying the foundation for this. Social media posts going around about terrorist attacks in mid-tier cities. Cities like Omaha, Colorado Springs, Tulsa, Boise, that they're saying that could be imminent at any given moment. Are they laying the foundation for a false flag? It makes sense with Offutt right up the street. Are they laying the foundations for a false flag to turn Omaha into the next globalist-controlled 24/7 surveillance state smart city? Or am I off my rocker? Could be either one. Here's my thing. Tinfoil hats off. Take a break. Tinfoil hats off. Let's say for a second that there's no conspiracy. Let's say this is just a really stupid idea. Remember what I said about Trump? Why I voted for him this third time around here? despite being heavily critical of some of the people he surrounded himself with and some of the people he did and some of the things he did in his first term. Trump is the first politician that I have ever seen admit he made mistakes and promise not to repeat them. Hey, I screwed up on that. I'm not going to do it. Usually they double down. Stothert is refusing to admit this was a mistake, at least publicly. She won't learn. She won't admit her mistakes. She has to be voted out. Best case, she's an idiot. She's an idiot or stubborn, whatever you want to call it, and refuses to admit she got the streetcar thing wrong. Worst case, we're being set up for a false flag that will get people here killed, will destroy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of property, and will result in a total globalist surveillance state takeover of this city. Maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't know. But this old bag has got to go. And her mouthpieces that carry water for her in the local establishment media and the people that play ball with her at these public forums where she refuses to go on if she's being recorded have got to go. I was talking to somebody last weekend. She used to speak at a conference. I'm not going to name drop it because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, because we all know, evidently, nobody wants to come out against this woman publicly. You'll all come out and bash her behind the scenes, but nobody wants to come out public. Now, I don't know. I'm sure the person I told you, if I asked them, would greenlight me saying this. But I haven't talked to him, and I don't want to get long story. But I was told that she would speak at this conference annually. And one year she opened it up for questions. She got a couple of questions that put her on the hot seat a little bit. Got really angry with some people. Then all of a sudden stopped taking questions, cut it short, and has never returned their call since. I mean, they're not all liars, guys. So the people that continue to enable this behavior, I mean, you are enabling a petty authoritarian. That's what this is. You're enabling a bully. You're enabling her to be able to tailor what she wants to say to the group she's speaking in front of to try to earn their votes, because she is a snake who will say whatever it takes to get elected. She will only go on camera. She will only go on the radio if it's a home game, if it's a friendly environment, if she's not worried about being pressed. She will not allow herself to be recorded on the hot seat. Won't happen. I'm gonna have Mia crack an email off tomorrow. Ask her to come on the show. Guarantee she won't. Guarantee she won't. Here's what I want. I'm gonna lay it out, conditions, make them perfectly clear. When she talks about this streetcar thing, I want to ask her a number of questions. I don't have enough time, because I guarantee she'd give me 10 minutes of her time and spend 8 of them filibustering. I want you to email me. I don't want you to bring it on the show and blindside me with it. I want to be emailed the PowerPoint that she is claiming is so convincing and convinced 100% of the time. They're batting 1,000 per her own words in winning over hearts and minds on the streetcar. She supposedly has a slideshow that literally every single person she's ever showed it to, when she presents it, has come out on the other end supporting the streetcar. Great, send it to me. I want to see it. I want to look at it. But here's my thing. I'm not going to let you bring it on my show and blindside me, because you've supposedly you wrote this presentation. It's got all your pre-approved talking points on it. And you've supposedly given it hundreds of times. She even claims she's gone to places and presented it to 3 people. Well, great. I have an audience of thousands, and all of them are against the streetcar. Sounds like a golden opportunity for you, Mayor Stothert. Come on the show and explain your power. Bring your little PowerPoint with you. Let's do it. Thousands of people who are going to go to vote on April 1st that hate your streetcar. Sounds like a golden opportunity to land the knockout blow. But here's my condition. I have to see this PowerPoint first. I have to see this PowerPoint first. I need it sent to me. Because like I said, you helped write this PowerPoint. It's got all your talking points on it. You've given the presentation dozens or hundreds or whatever it's amounts of times. I want to see it so I won't be blindsided by the information there. I want to be able to say, okay, maybe I agree with this. Maybe I've got a counterpoint to make on this. I want to be able to have questions prepared. I don't want you to give it to me on the fly. So if you're willing to do that, and I won't yell, I won't cuss, I won't do anything. We don't even have to be in the same room. We'll Zoom you in. But that's for me, because I would be, intimidated by her towering presence. But I would be more than, let's make it happen. My people will reach out to your people. Bring the stupid PowerPoint on the show. I'm all for it. But you're going to get put on the spot. This is why she won't do it. She's going to get put on the spot and have to answer questions about it in a recorded environment with someone who's not a big fan of hers. I mean, some of the things, seriously, man, the reason. So I was at this thing when I asked her the question a couple Saturdays ago. It's called Free Speech Society. And it supposedly caters to everybody. And I was treated very respectfully there. I have no problem with any people running it or anyone that was there. But it leans to the left. It's a left-leaning room. Very left-leaning. Of course, no recording, whatever. Somebody raises his hand, says, hey, when you met with XYZ Republican Club over a week ago, you told us that Donald Trump had endorsed you. Is that true? Are you willing to publicly accept Trump's endorsement? I mean, there were audible gasps in the room. These are the types of people, I'm not kidding you, some of the people in this meeting were the types of people that, I'm calling my congressman every day to report Trump. I mean, the boomers you argue with in the local news section on Facebook, this was them. They actually leave their houses. They actually leave their houses. She wouldn't answer. She wouldn't give a straight answer. Said she keeps her endorsement because she saw the reaction in the room. She had no problem saying at another meeting that was also off the record for a conservative group that Donald Trump endorsed her because she knew that's what would win those votes. But she bragged about it to another group. She didn't deny saying this in that meeting, by the way, in that other meeting. She gets in front of another group that's maybe a little bit more liberal. And all of a sudden, she doesn't want to admit that this endorsement that she's all so proud about. Why? What changed? The only thing that changed is the audience. If there weren't a mixed bag, if there weren't people on the no-no list like myself that they knew about, she probably would have went in there and said, oh yeah, Kamala Harris just called and endorsed me. Because snakes like that will say whatever it takes to remain in power. They cannot be trusted. Just like she did with the gun lie. There's the gun lie. Who knows if Trump actually endorsed? Yeah, listen, man. With everything that's on Trump's plate, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he probably don't care all that much. Probably don't care all that much. But you know what I say? Let her have that endorsement. Let her have the Trump endorsement. I think we should make it, even if she doesn't want to admit it, I want every last one of you that listens to this show to make it, to shout it from the mountaintop that Donald Trump endorsed Jean Stothert. And here's why. She's lost the right. Anyone in this city who can be swayed by Donald Trump's endorsement is already done with her. And as we've learned in recent events, MAGA has a mind of its own. It's not the blind loyalty to Trump that a lot of folks on the left have tried to paint it as. She's lost the right. They ain't coming back, especially with the gun thing and everything going on. She needs those boomer Democrats to vote for her. Those people that have bought the propaganda about McDonnell being some kind of Nazi fascist, which he's of course not. Of course he's not. Guys, do you understand what it means when you say someone's a Nazi or a white supremacist? Do you understand what that means? Of course I wouldn't endorse someone that was a white supremacist. Those are the types of people that want to put me in jail for being married to a brown woman. It would be idiotic for me to endorse. It would be against my own best interest. They literally refer to my marriage and my future children as me committing, and I quote, white genocide. I would never in a million years associate myself with someone that stupid. McDonnell is not a racist. He's not a Nazi. He's not a bigot. He's not a white supremacist. He has the views I feel like 70% of the country does. But she needs those people that believe at their core that this guy's a Nazi to show up and vote for her. And if she has the Trump endorsement, those people may not vote for McDonnell, but they ain't going to vote for her. They'll stay home. They'll write in Mickey Mouse. They'll do whatever, but they ain't going to vote for her. Not if Big T's endorsed her. They wouldn't touch her with a 99-foot pole. So let her have the Trump endorsement. Let her have the Trump endorsement and continue to call her out on her lies. Anytime you hear she's going to be at a public forum speaking anything, and I know some of you have already done this, go there. Go there and ask questions. Be peaceful, be respectful. Go there and put her on the spot. You will be intimidated. She is a nasty, scary, mean, cold-hearted bitch. You will be intimidated. She's your mean stepmother. She will scold you. She'll give you a nasty look. Maybe make sure that your sensitive information can't be doxed. But go there and put her on the spot. Keep making her uncomfortable, because the more uncomfortable we make her, the wilder she's going to swing and the more likely she is to make a mistake. I told you guys, we're going to unseat an incumbent. We need some type of scandal or some type of really stupid comment to be made in the next month. She's got to mess up. If we keep putting her on the spot, she's a whole lot more likely to mess up. Get out and vote Tuesday, April 1st for Mike McDonnell. Unlike some talk show hosts, I don't hide my allegiances. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.